Good evening. I'm Saul Saenz, and this is ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. I want to thank you for joining us this Sunday evening for a truly insightful conversation about a topic that sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, artificial intelligence, or AI. And if you're anything like me, the average person knows very little about AI. Now, just to show you what AI can do, we're going to do an experiment. This is me at age 62. This is me at age 82. And this is me at age 32. Well, make no mistake about it, AI is the future. Here's what we know AI does. It combines the latest powerful software with top-of-the-range hardware to not just replicate programs fed to the computer, but to actually think for itself and make decisions, sometimes faster than the human mind. AI is being used to power research in a huge range of fields, from medical to research and development. And you don't have to go too far to see AI in use, Siri and Alexa being some of those popular. Now, but here's another sci-fi reference. Can AI run amok and spell an end to civilization as we know it? Famed physicist Stephen Hawking warned it could do just that before he passed away. Now, you see, in the end, AI is technology and may not yet have the ability to have a conscience. Lawmakers are rushing to learn more about AI to try to regulate and possibly create safeguards. But with all that being said, we are learning AI does have useful applications. In Las Cruces, one company is changing caregiving. Addison is a 3D virtual caregiver who can gesture and make jokes, all while helping collect vitals and remind patients to take their medications. She can even report emergencies or declines in a patient's health. As we learned from Leloba Cicero, reporting for ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition as part of a new series we're calling The Rise of AI in the Borderland.
Inside this unassuming building off Main Street in Las Cruces, the future is taking shape.
Hi, I'm Addison.
Meet Addison, a 3D virtual caregiver. It can remind you when it's time to check your vitals, take your meds.
So we have like some mock medication routines in here. Hey, blood pressure, pain relief, gout.
When it's time for physical therapy, your mental health checkups.
This kind of stuff. There's probably one in here. Let me see if he's in here.
Addison is designed to be a friend. You can interact with it through voice.
You can give me any command that's written out on the button. Let's try it out. Say, Addison.
Addison.
Then say.
And touch.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to interact with.
She doesn't like
She doesn't like that too much.
It can even mimic your surroundings. If it's raining or snowing at your house, the same will happen at Addison's. It can also mimic your beliefs and celebrations, birthdays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Ramadan.
Let's go over where everything is and how it all works.
You can even choose its gender or ethnicity.
From different ethnicities.
Anthony Dorman is Addison's founder and inventor.
There's so many things that we do through virtual care. But what we're doing is for the very first time ever, we're providing continuous oversight. We're able to help providers and carers identify how patients are responding in real time to their treatment directives.
Dorman says Addison is also a crutch for families caring for loved ones.
One of the things that we're seeing is with informal carers, over 40 million informal carers, they are now one of the biggest segments in the world that are suffering mental and physical health conditions from stress-related illnesses. They're not sleeping right.
But what about those who say there's nothing like human care?
Physical contact really can't be replaced, right? And our technology isn't meant to replace physical contact. What it's meant to do is to be able to help people have the time and the focus and to be able to be more present, right? Without worrying about all the care responsibilities, to give them greater confidence to be there and to be a better, more improved care companion.
An ally in an ever-changing world. Leloba Cicero, ABC-7.
Now, Dorman says the plan is to get Addison in hospital so she can help intake and discharge, even helping reduce readmission. He says it will also help take away some of the workload from nurses to doctors. Now, joining us to talk all things artificial intelligence is Creative Director for ABC-7, Eric Bowers. Eric is an Edward R. Murrow Award recipient for his work on One Crazy Year, a first-of-its-kind virtual reality museum documenting the events and headlines of 2020. And we also have ABC-7 reporter Leloba Cicero. Leloba has put together a series of stories, one which you just watched, titled The Rise of AI in the Borderland. And also joining us is Joseph Sapien. Joseph is with STTE, which is a nonprofit organization whose one of the main goal is to teach the borderland about all things technology, i.e. AI. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right in. Eric, I'm going to start with you. You're probably the best. You've given me probably the best explanation of what AI is using autopilot as an analogy. You want to elaborate, please?
Yeah, obviously, because we all know that there's self-driving cars out there. And when I first heard about self-driving cars years ago, I was a programmer, and I was thinking, man, that's a lot of programming. I knew how bad guys were programmed in video games, and I was thinking the same thing, like, okay, so now you're telling a car that you know, when you see a stop sign, you stop and you wait and you look both ways and you go, and you have to program all these things. But what AI actually is this machine learning. So instead of programming that way, instead people would drive around safely with a car, and they would, and the computer would learn everything that they're doing as a safe driver, and maybe even learn from mistakes, and go through and figure out that's how you drive. And of course, there's thousands of hours that go into seeing how that works, but then it starts to make decisions for itself, saying, okay, there's a stop sign, I know what I need to do there.
And we'll talk about the implications of exactly just that, what can happen when it has to make its own decision. Now, Mr. Sapien, what's your best description of what AI is?
Well, you know, artificial intelligence is exactly what, you know, the title is. It's artificial intelligence, and so the machine learning is what the beauty of the technology is how it can learn and improve at a rapid rate, faster than what we can comprehend. And so, you know, ChatGPT, for example, was exploded just because it was very useful for the user to query and put in inputs to get what outputs they wanted to do from, and saving them a lot of time. So it is artificial. You know, it's not 100% perfect, and you still need that human element and quality control over the AI. But it is fascinating, and it is coming pretty rapidly.
Okay, Leloba, you've been digging in, immersing yourself in all things AI for your series, The Rise of the AI in the Borderland. Your thoughts on what you've learned thus far?
So I've learned there's a lot we don't know about AI. I mean, it seems like it's just this thing that just showed up in our lives one day, right? You used to call over to Walmart if you ordered something and it didn't show up, and you'd speak to a person, Judith or whoever. And then one day, there's a machine on the other end of the line asking you questions. I have a Google Pixel phone. I have a Google Assistant. You know, people have Alexa at home. Alexa can turn on your lights. She can turn on your alarms. And it's like kind of this technology that a lot of us are it's kind of just found its way into our lives, and I think a lot of us are giving away, allowing it into our lives without totally understanding what it is. And Mr. Sapien said something about really interesting, I think, about AI too, is it's artificial intelligence, but it's also intuitive, which is also really interesting. So. Okay,
well, we're going to take a really quick break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Still ahead, we've talked about all the positives, or at least some of them, but there are some warnings surrounding the misuse of artificial intelligence. I'll ask my guests about that when we come back. You're watching ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition, where news comes first.
Intuitive sit to start in the all-electric ID4. It's the little things. Visit your Volkswagen dealer today and lease the all-electric 2023 ID4 Pro for just $349 a month. Limited inventory available.
When classics come together, it's a beautiful thing. Classic Cabana Bowls, only at Taco Cabana.
Unlock your potential and launch your nursing career with Southwest University. Take the leap and enroll by August 2nd to become a skilled nurse in just 2 years. That's right. We fast-track your journey to success with Southwest University. Level up your nursing skills and knowledge with flexible schedules and speedy terms. Make it happen today. For more information, visit southwestuniversity.edu. Last day to enroll is August 2nd. Southwest University, start today.
The GMC Sierra with hands-free driving. Yeah, it rocks. Or get 0.9% APR and no monthly payments for...
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. Now, we told you about the artificial intelligence applications, but did you know it was discovered that AI was used in Turkey during the latest presidential election? And here in the U.S., fake images showed former President Donald Trump hugging and kissing Dr. Fauci, but with no mention in the video that the images were fake. Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. And I also want to welcome back my guest, creative director for ABC-7, Eric Bowers. Sitting next to him is ABC-7 reporter, or actually she's on the opposite side, Liloba Cicero. And Liloba has put together a series of stories titled The Rise of AI in the Borderland. And also joining us is Joseph Sapien. Joseph is with the STTE organization, which is a nonprofit organization whose one of the main goals is to teach the borderland about all things technology, such as AI. Mr. Sapien, I want to start with you this time. At the top of the program, I prefaced that AI may react faster than the human brain, but probably does not have a sense of morality or a conscience, right?
Correct. It is learning how to get a conscience, but it's not an actual human conscience.
Yeah. What are the ramifications of that?
The ramifications could be significant, right? When you're talking about a decision of catastrophic effects, it could be you don't want the decision to be made in the hands of an artificial intelligence or a bot. You want it to be emotionally driven by a human. And so I'm around a bunch of developers and doing AI, and there's always in technology, there's going to be good actors and bad actors. And so I feel like when you talked earlier, Saul, about the government and getting involved, I think that's the right approach. Is how do you try and control?
You approve of that?
I approve of that. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's we're so early on in this boom, in this next revolution, that we have to put some guardrails. But again, the good actors and bad actors, they will always try and figure out how to use that technology to, scam people through fake calls, and there's just going to be, scary things that are going to happen. But there's also going to be fascinating things that are going to happen because of AI.
Yeah. Eric, this is the tip of the iceberg with AI right now. We're barely learning somewhat about it. What are the implications that you can imagine, of course, of allowing AI to go unchecked? What could be the worst case scenario? Perhaps war games?
Yeah, I mean, you could think of it as war games on a big scale. Mr. Sapien had also, talked about decisions that could be made. If you think of it as, even on a small scale, if you bring back my self-driving thing that I had said earlier, you could think about like a car driving, and now all of a sudden it has no choice. There's two cars in front of it. It's going to have to hit one of them. Is it possible that the AI is making a decision based on which car in front of them is paying a higher insurance premium, and it hits the one who's paying lower, and things like that? Because you could see how corporations could take over this and create those types of scenarios.
Liloba, in your conversations with people who are putting together AI applications to good use, did they at any point in time have any warnings of what could go wrong should AI go unchecked? Do they always have to be present to try to prevent AI from running amok?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those territories where there's so much that we're learning, but at the same time, there's so much that's unknown, and it literally changes every single day. There are all these new things that are coming, and I had a conversation with Eric, actually, that's going to be airing right here on ABC-7 about even the experts are like scratching their heads, right? There's so much of it. It's almost like we're inundated with information every day, and we're trying to sort through what's fact. But I think these are important conversations to have, right? Because you never want to give away power to something you can't control, because now, like, you relented, right? But I wanted to go back a little bit to that piece we were watching with the electronic caregiver, and that is the question about how far is this going to alter the human experience, right? So in my conversation with Mr. Dorman, I asked him the question, you know, his company is a virtual caregiving. Is this going to replace human care? You know, there's nothing like somebody sitting next to your bedside and holding your hand. Is AI going to take that place? And what he said was, you know, humans, nothing can replace a human but another human, but AI can augment. Like, for instance, if you're a caregiver and you're a human being, there's a point at which you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go get some sleep, and AI can sort of fill that void while you are not there.
Mr. Sapien, anytime that we talk about computers, you can't help but bring up the whole, I guess, the whole issue of hacking. Can AI be hacked into perhaps making Addison, the caregiver, give you the wrong medication just because somebody wants to get rid of you? You know, can if left unchecked, can it be hacked?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, it can be hacked.
That's terrifying. So what do you envision if something like this were to happen? And of course, if there were absolutely no legislation, there was no oversight concerning AI, what is the worst case scenario that you can think of can happen if AI were to go run amok?
That's a very deep question. So, you know, I'm sure everyone has seen the movie Terminator, right? And so Skynet, you know, it's now there's development in robotics, and now you're embedding AI, artificial intelligence, into these robotics, like Eric was saying, self-driving cars. So, you know, a car crash could happen because of a glitch in the technology. And so, you know, there's many different scenarios that could happen that could be bad. But I tend to be very optimistic and look at the good of what this technology can do for humanity. You know, could it solve cancer? You know, could it solve cancer? So,
can it?
You know, I would like to think so. I would like to think it could cure cancer. And so I feel the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, Saul. And it's up to mankind and humanity to, I think by being here today and being with your viewers, talking about it and educating the community, educating the business community, educating about parents and students and families. So if you don't understand it, or if you tend to look the other way, you're not going to be able to embrace the good, and you're also not going to identify the bad. So I think that awareness piece is so important, and I tend to think it's going to be a positive for the future.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to take another break. Still ahead, I'll ask my guests if AI can have an impact on our workforce, either positive or negative. The response when we come back. Don't go away.
Yeah! Charbroiled beef, jalapenos, pepper jack, bacon, habanero. Your mouth will be on fire. Tell your mouth, El Diablo made you do it. My rewards members can get a one-time El Diablo single for $6.66 in the Carl's Jr. app.
This summer, happiness is a new Chevy. You can go farther, tow more, and bring along everyone you love. Your road to happiness begins in a new Chevy. Get 1.9% financing on select popular Chevy SUVs when you finance with GM Financial. Plus, make no monthly payments for 90 days. Chevy drives Texas. Find new roads.
Watch Smart Money Thursday on ABC-7 at 4 with Myro Capital Management. You'll learn how to save money the right way and make better decisions to set you and your family up for financial success. Smart Money Thursday on ABC-7 at 4, sponsored by Myro Capital Management.
America, come along with our adventure seekers and discover summer with Ford. Join friends Maisa and Leslie on an epic adventure with the capability of the Ford Bronco Sport. Head out with the Stevens family and stay connected with built-in Wi-Fi in the Ford Explorer.
Did you know that horses sleep standing up?
Road trip with the Sanchez family and available hands-free highway driving in the Ford F-150.
Yeah, we're cruising.
Now get $2,900 for $60 plus up to $2,000 bonus cash on select Ford SUVs. See your best in Texas Ford dealer, the official vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys.
Can't get to a TV? Stay up to date and watch every ABC-7 newscast wherever you are. Complete coverage of breaking news and accurate, reliable storm track weather streaming live on KVIA.com and the free KVIA News app.
School today.
Carl's Jr. is spicing up the all-day 2 for $5 deal savings. Try a new spicy little cheeseburger, spicy chicken sandwich, cheeseburger, or French toast dips, and more. Pick any two all day, $5.
Welcome back to this third and final segment of ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. If you've been watching news from Hollywood, you know there's an actors and writers strike going on right now. One of the things actors are trying to prevent is having studios replace them, actors, with AI-generated characters. Now, I want to welcome back my guest, creative director for ABC-7, Eric Bowers. Sitting here with us as well is Leiloba Cicero. And together, she put a series titled The Rise of AI in the Borderland. You're going to have to watch it. It's really, really good. And also joining us is Joseph Sapien. Joseph is with STTE, which is a nonprofit organization whose one of the main goals is to teach the borderland about all things technology, such as AI. Eric, I'm going to start with you. Is it possible that AI can replace humans in the workforce?
You know, back when, being a creative and a programmer and stuff like that, I used to think, okay, robots are going to replace everybody. But for me personally, I was like, yeah, but they would never take my job. I'm a creative. I create things. Only humans can do that. Or I'm a programmer and I come up with solutions and only humans can do that. And it's funny that those are actually the first jobs that are being taken. You know, when you look at tools like Midjourney, that's just creating artwork in the style of artists that already exists. You know, you think about ChatGPT, people are going to that instead of writers now. I was actually at a conference 2 months ago where there was an illustrator from Disney who was in a meeting and showing these storyboard ideas, and the executives were like, oh, you know what? I think we have a better idea than that. And they started typing stuff into Midjourney, and they came up with a different way of framing the story. And they're like, let's do this instead. And it was at that moment that she realized, like, oh my goodness, like my job is being taken over. And I thought working at Disney would be like the dream career.
Yeah, Mr. Sapien, we've also learned, or at least heard, I don't know if this, just how truthful this is, that there are actually robots or drones that pick apples right now. So can AI replace the human?
It can replace functions, yes. I wouldn't say the human. That's a little further out with some of the stuff that Elon Musk is doing, and that's a whole other topic. But it can definitely make functions. You know, it doesn't have to sleep. Robots can work 24 hours, and so you know,
no
repetitive. If you think about it, what if you have a job that is tedious and repetitive of specific tasks? Those are the type that AI and robots could replace very soon, because it's, you know, you train the AI of a data set, and then it learns how to work that data set, and then the process can be even leaner and quicker than a human. So, but I think it's important, Saul, is not to let the public know, like, it's not going to happen like overnight. It's going to take some time, and companies are going to have solutions to make this transition, and then you'll be able to control a lot more. Maybe instead of controlling 5 drones, you control 100 drones, and so the scalability of this technology is going to impact the workforce.
Yeah, which we've seen with drones and 4th of July replacing the rockets. Now, Leiloba, it sounds like you have a few more topics to cover as part of your series, The Rise of AI in the Borderland. Have you discussed, or at least envisioned, the possibility of seeing the good, what AI can do and possibly replace some people in the workforce?
You know, so, I mean, case in point, like you just gave the example about the apple picking AI robot, right? Right now, a human is building that robot. Sure, it might be the robot picking the apples, but a human built it. So I think we sort of exist in this world where there's a coexistence right now. There's no one taking over another one. It's just there's certain functions that the AI robot can do and certain functions that only humans can do. I was reading somewhere, for instance, that they're testing AI in drive-through restaurants, at fast food restaurants. But so the AI, you know, typically those are noisy places, right? There are cars driving by, there are people talking in the car, the AI is trying to take an order, it's messing up the order. So the human has to supervise the machine to make sure that the order is right. So right now there is a coexistence, but I think in closing I would say that I think above everything, the most important thing right now is regulation, Saul.
Yeah.
It's necessary. It doesn't matter if something is all good or something is all bad. I think it needs to be regulated.
Eric, since you've been reading up on this and you've been to some conferences and whatnot, what else are you learning that AI can do to replace humans?
Well,
truck drivers?
Well, yeah, we had talked about truck drivers. Obviously, the self-driving, I would think like, pilots, soldiers. I think just about any, I'm having a hard time thinking about jobs that wouldn't be replaced by AI. Whether it comes down to even surgeries and lawyers and these types of things. I think I would have a harder time thinking about something that wouldn't be replaced. Human ingenuity is always going to be there. And right now we are kind of one step ahead. ChatGPT makes a lot of mistakes. but yeah, I mean, it is looking like this is a future where if you don't have a job that has been replaced by AI, you're at least relying on it to help you with your job.
I just asked Mr. Sapien if he believes that AI should be regulated. What do you think? Eric?
Oh, what do I think?
Yeah.
I definitely think it should be, but I also know the problems with regulation and any kind of regulation is that your criminals don't follow regulations. And so if you have very smart criminals at the top who know how to do these things, they will be able to do it.
Like hackers.
Yeah, but even on like a national level, as soon as one country slows down because they're regulating, another country might look at that as a weakness and advantage to keep progressing. And we've seen that with the nuclear arms race. We've seen that with all those types of weapons races. And this actually is another form of weapons race.
Yeah, okay. Eric Bowers, Mr. Joseph Sapien, and Lobo Cicero, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and explain AI to us as much as obviously we can take in and try to visualize the possibilities. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us as we've taken you through this journey of what AI is, the good, the bad, and the potential for things going wrong unless unchecked. I hope you learned as much as I did about artificial intelligence. And this has been ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Good night y buenas noches.
Thank you for watching ABC-7.